It's loading. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Now you can hear me. Aren't we excited about that? Yeah, hi, hello. Things are happening. It is occurring. We're doing our first gummy hunt of the year. Meaning I get to shove my camera into the heads of a whole bunch of just a whole bunch of NPCs. Oh boy, aren't they're gonna be so excited about all of this. All right, there we go. Making sure that everything is still functioning properly. Perfect. Yeah, I was considering streaming some content warning this weekend because I've played it a little bit over the last few days and it's been delightful and very fun, and I think it would be very fun to stream at some point. But the last time I streamed, move that out of the way just real fast. I'm so sorry. Last time I streamed, I mentioned that, y'all successfully raised all of the channel points you needed for a gummy hunt. So here we are. My soda is empty, and that's very tragic. I might grab one later. But once y'all funded that community challenge, I was like, well, next stream we do is gonna be a gummy hunt, and I'm gonna stick to my word this time. I'm gonna do that. I was hoping to stream on Wednesday, but I was tired. I'm still very tired today. This is the first week of me like fully assuming my new role as a trainer at work. And I've been training someone this week, and it's been going great. I've just been talking way more at work than I ever do. And that is, plus there's just like, even though we're not really like socializing, there is still that like social aspect to it that I'm just like not used to, and that's worn me down a little bit. But I figure what we can do today, at the very least, is make our character, make our pawn, maybe get a couple of gummies in there so that the next time we do this, we'll be a little more prepared to go. And yeah, and that'll also free me up to do a little bit of content warning at some point, because that game is silly. Excuse me. Yeah, so this is what we're doing today. Are y'all excited? As per usual with our hunts, I will be posting screenshots. Yeah, that's fine. I think the last game that I did was the very start of the game anyway. So, yeah, I'll be posting screenshots of the gummies, in Discord, as well as, posting the name of the NPC, all that good stuff. Doing all that nonsense. Hi, Stars. Sorry, I'm, a little hiccupy at the moment. How's it going? How are you doing? But yeah, let's, I know, game. I know this will erase all my old saved data. Here's the thing, there's not much of it. We'll just do normal. Yeah, so you can follow along with the actual gummies in Discord, and it's gonna be great. Let's go.
How dark it's got.
Here's the thing.
Have you a light source?
Salde, hey. You
Very
wanna
well.
come here? You wanna come here to me? This man will not stand still. We do have to do this funny little thing in order to get gums. Make my man disappear. That's great. I do have to use the, like... Stop running away from my camera, you motherfucker! You know what? Fine. We'll do this. Yeah, so I do have to kind of, like, use their very silly... in-game camera. Is this the man? There's no man there. So this is gonna make things very, very interesting. There we go. Oh, Lord. There's one of the gums. There's some of the gums. It's very sensitive. Oh boy. Okay, can I make you face me? Can you face me, sir? Are you capable of facing me? Already. It's just a whole dang thing, you know? Oh, wow. There they are. Take that picture. So let me just we're starting off strong. Like I said, it's gonna be weird, it's gonna be wiggly. This is the only way that I could get gummies in this game, but they will be got. And that's cool. I don't want to post all of them with the like Dragon's Dogma logo, so I might just like do one of these. Does that fuck up stream? Me like, you know, capturing the screen itself? Hopefully not. But here's our first gum. It's Salday. Is that how you spell his name? I think it is. If not, well, I'll fix that later then. I've put that in Discord. Again, I'm so sorry you're not going to be able to see like everything. Actually, you know what I could potentially put a window behind the video game so that when we swap around, it can be different. But gums, we've done it. There's our first gum, and I did spell his name correctly. Go me. Thank you, Salday. I mean, you were the one I was testing this out with when we first started. Or when I first attempted to do stuff.
We should hurry.
But this is great. Alright. Heavy attack, light attack, understood. But yeah, how are you doing today, Stars? Oh, I have grabbed the man. How do I run? Can I not run? Well, it doesn't matter. There's a big old dragon there. He wasn't even aiming at me. Why'd I block? Gerblins! Can I steal stuff from him? No? Okay. Follow me, Arisen.
Gateway to the rift.
Yeah. A little sleepy, but in your new place and doing good. I'm so happy to hear that. But also I feel you on the sleepy front. I was mentioning that like I started my role as like a trainer at work this week, which has been going really, really well. But it's just like very new and I'm having to talk a lot, and I don't think I realized until today. Like I knew that I was tired like throughout the week. Look at those people. I knew that I was tired, but like not having to actually do anything today made me realize just exactly how tired I am. Oh wow. Quince, you got some gums in there, huh? There's our second one. How do I want to do this? We can... Again, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of the best way to handle looking at these gummies. Right, though? Talking is exhausting. For real. Very tired, like, all of the time. No, but like I said, like, it is going, like, super well, but it's a lot. But it's going well. I'm excited about it. I guess it doesn't matter. Y'all can still see the pause menu. You're not getting quite as much fun with me copy and pasting these, but again, you can follow along in in Discord to see the actual gums. Some of these are going to be really dark. I'm realizing. And that's just kind of just what we have to cope with. Wait, there are more gums here. I don't remember. Where did our other guy go? Morgana? Why couldn't I see them? Oh, oh! Oh! Good lord. Okay, let's try and reposition ourselves a little bit. Again, this is gonna be like a whole dang thing. They are gone. They're both gone. This is not a drill. They have both vanished. Okay. 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 I don't like that I keep getting them, like, at a slight angle. It's a little annoying. Oh, God. Oh, no. You know, I kind of like it really close. It's just, it's all sorts of horrible. Isn't that beautiful? They are a little elusive, but like honestly, I'm kind of here for it. It's like it's a stylistic choice. The Dragon's Dogma has taken regarding like our little hunt here. But this definitely like sets them apart from the gummies that we had in Elden Ring. I'm sorry, I'm just full of hiccups. How do I spell their name? Morgana. Okay.
Just being at your side fills this.
Morgana. Again, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm like spelling all these. Oh god, when I tab out of the game, I am just greeted with these horrible screenshots. But hey, that's 3 gummies down. I don't know that we're gonna just sneeze like 8 times in a row. Oh god, are you okay? Your poor face.
Very well.
I don't know that we'll get every NPC because this game is just chock full of them, but if we see a particularly, like, opportune time, we'll get every pawn that we summon because I think that's important. Sneezed your face off. You're a skeleton now. Dang. Well, that's okay because, I mean, we are a skeleton-friendly place here. I'm sorry your face is gone now, but you know what? We still care about you because you're our good friend Stars. My god, they are talking so much. Morgana, what are you doing down there? Are you climbing up here? Well, I mean, I guess that's one way to get up here. All right. Yeah. Hey, it's a chimera! It took me forever to find one of these in the second game. Where? Goblin where? I've been like, it's not that I've like, I don't know, it's not like I've been like avoiding these or anything like that, but there's definitely been like, I've missed doing them, but it was just a matter of like, finding the time and like, not necessarily the patience, but definitely like the attention. There's a lot of attention that goes into doing a gummy hunt, you know? And my attention span has just been like absolute shit recently. Just over like the last year, it's been all over the place. But we're here. We're excited. We got some skeletons just hanging out in this corner. I wonder if they have gummies. Actually, hang on. These skeletons have gummies? Or is it too close to the wall for me to get to that? It might be a little too close. Yeah, I mean, I'd believe it. I'd believe that my attention span was stolen by ghosts. That tracks. Yeah, I don't know that we'll get every single NPC. I think we'll try and get merchants.
Cannot suffer the worm to work
Because they should be fairly easy to get. We'll definitely get all of the pawns that we summon. But I don't necessarily know that we will try and get every single person that we pass on the street, because again, they're just so many. But we'll do what we can. And it'll be fun. And yeah, I'm also just like very excited to have something just silly, but like nice. Excuse me. Had a sinus infection a couple of weeks ago, which is why I sounded so miserable for the like 2 streams that I did. And now it's just the weather has changed and I've got allergies. So, you know, just forever coughing. Isn't that fun? I would like to try and get some gerblins at some point. Can we get in there? Oh yeah, we can. Sinus infections are the worst, and I get them so often because my sinuses are too tiny. Okay, his head is kind of in the wrong position. He doesn't really have eyeballs, but he do have that mouth though. What that mouth do? I keep forgetting I can hide the main character. Like I can hide our character. Hey, do you think I should do that, or should I just keep leaving him in the background of all these images? Because I think I kind of like having him there. But if we think that it's detracting, awkwardly hovering is funny. Okay. I guess it was just like if we think that it's detracting from the overall like vibe, from the overall image, the composition, then we'll get rid of it. But it does kind of, I don't know. I'm sure we could find like the golden rule in there somewhere. Make it all like Renaissance-like and shit. This is also just like an absolute trip to be playing since I have been playing the new one. Why is she stopped singing? Can I? I was hoping to try and get a harpy. Getting some of the enemies might be good. Like trying to get enemy gums would be kind of cool. Can I? How far into the ground can I do this? Not at all, actually, is the thing. And that is as downward as the camera will go. Okay, so if I'm gonna get a harpy, gonna have to do it while they're in the air or coming down towards us. They cannot be face down, ass up. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. That is not what the harpy was doing.
I should be proud to
feel
guide
it close by, Arisen.
I'm so sorry. Where
Very well.
But with you,
is Morgana?
we have a chance.
Let's hasten to the dragon's roost.
Why does she keep falling behind? So there's this thing in the new game. Called that is not the way the harpy likes. It's true. It's true. And I'm sorry that I even implied that. I should know better.
This way, sir.
But there's a thing in the new Dragon's Dogma called Dragon's Plague. And I think my team may have been exposed to it recently, which is a problem. But it like makes your pawns act all unruly and rude. And they like won't listen to you, and I think I will panic anytime the AI in this game gets a little wibbly and think, oh god, they've got the Dragon's Plague. I'm gonna try and get this Chimera's gums. Look at this boy. Well, Pilati is dead. All his juice came out. Why was his juice yellow? We're gonna get he gum. He got 3 gums? Probably. We'll try and get him. Oh god. Oh fuck. Oh lord. Oh Jesus. Oh. Oh god. Does he have eyes? Yeah, but it does look like they are exclusively on the outside of the body. Those are not 3D in the same way that gums are. Is that... There's got to be a better angle here. Huh. Yeah, they're like googly eyes. They've just kind of been like stuck on there. Okay, I am gonna take that as a screenshot just in case I can't get a better... anything better. Ooh, that might be good. I am going to die a lot, I think, in this game. Just because we're gonna be very busy. Just trying to get the right camera angle. There? Are we happy with that? I need those horrible teeth in view. But also the texture on that tongue! Yeah. Yeah, that goat tongue sure is a thing. Why is it so textured? Sorry, I am trying to, like, get all of the horrible bits involved. There we go. It's gonna drop us back to the pause menu, which is great. Not you Googling goat tongue texture. Stars, please. We will do number 5. Chimera, in parentheticals. Goat. They don't look like that IRL. You mean they don't look like a horrible piece of, like, rotten purple jerky? Weird. Weird that. I thought they did look like a horrible piece of rotten, miserable, zombified jerky. It's good to know that they don't look like that. You thought maybe they had, like, tongue teeth like geese? I hate the fact that geese have tongue teeth. Genuinely, this is a fact that I have known for a while, and I hate it. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Oh, God, I have to get really close to get all of this, huh? Hi, Fruity. I actually don't know if I can get all of his gums in here all at the same time, so this might be a 2-parter gum. Character there or away? We gotta put him there. How's it going, Fruity? Okay, we've gotten the top part of the gums. And now... we'll do that, but I'm gonna try and get a better angle. Again, some of this is just to try... Oh, fuck, I'm gonna die. Oh, God. Oh, no. What is his hair doing? Those are some gums. Yeah, he's gonna slap the shit out of me. I'm fucked, I think. I mean, obviously, he has to be there, but I am just gonna try and toggle him off every once in a while. This is my favorite Gummy. I like that you can see his ears. I like that the ears are involved. That's some good shit. Also, I'm so sorry that the music is gonna constantly cut out. Okay. You know what? This one can go away. Yeah, delete that one. And I'm gonna keep the just floating eyeballs because they're very funny. But then we're going to take this. Oh, I forgot to post the goat. I actually forgot to post the goat. This will be 5B, which is Chimera lion. I will add an addendum to the original one, which is going to be 5A, because these are all part of the same creature, just the different parts of the creature. Because this creature happens to have 3 heads. Okay, lion. Can somebody else get this lion to pay attention to them so I can try and get this snack? I think the snack is too high up. Oh, my lord. Oh, fuck. I think his eyeballs, yeah, his eyeballs are also, just slapped onto the side of his head. What is the worst angle? I mean, that, because that just looks like, it sure looks. That's pretty miserable too, though. Why does he have 3 layers of teeth? 2 layers. 2 layers of teeth. Is he a shark? There we go. I have to be mindful of the fact that that stupid logo is gonna be involved constantly. Shark's neck. Snack. Snacks. Snacks. Okay. This is a bad one. Can't. Okay, the logo is gonna be in this one just because it's like a whole dang thing. Oh lord. 5C is Chimera Snack. Excuse me. That's me burping. Okay. Chimera's been got. We got that Chimera, y'all. Okay, I should probably, like, assist in doing the murder thing. But also, I am kind of dying. Oh! Okay, well... I was trying to grab the snake. Get on the snake! Get on the Hydra's back! I know it'll seal the beast's magic, but we're taking care of the snake first because it was trying to ruin my day. Nope, I didn't mean to pick you up all day, I'm sorry. Okay, we kill goat. We get up. We climb up to goat. They're so much smaller in this one, which is wild. Oh, I'm attacking lion. Okay, well that's fine. I have been bitten by goat. The goat was biting me. Ah! Ah! I'm just gonna bitch slap it with my shield. Oh jeez, 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 oh heck, oh jeez, oh heck. That Chimera is on fire. This lion's on fire. Don't
let fear keep you back.
They're such... I remember when I played this game for the first time, I was so, like, in awe over some of the monsters. Like, chimeras were my favorite. I thought they were just so fucking cool, and they still are, but But they, like, really went above and beyond in the second one. They've made them so large. And it's wild, and I love it. We've killed the Chimera. Also, is the game too loud, or is it fine for y'all? I realize that the battles are kind of, like, significantly louder than everything else. And I want to make sure I'm not deafening you all.
Now choose, flee or step forth. Take hold of what lies beyond. Claim
More
mastery
like
of
Chimera.
eternal
Sound is fine. Thank you. I just don't want it. I just don't want the combat to be like so much louder than everything else, which it seemed like it was. But thank you for the confirmation. I appreciate it. Also, how are you doing, Fruity? How's it going? Excuse me. Chimera. Yes, this is just a little off angle. There we go. That's better. A delightful, never novel pleasure of a useless occupation. Thanks, bud. Oh. And now it's ridiculously quiet. Character creator. Also, I'm sorry that cinema got canceled, but I'm glad that you were able to hang out with Sam and eat pizza. I can wiggle my man. The man can be wiggled. Do we want to make? Do we want to make? I mean, I can kind of make him in between is the thing. So we'll start with a dude base. You can't make me choose a name yet because No, you do. You do. You can make me choose a name. You are forcing me to choose a name. Can I just... No. Okay. What do we... I mean, we gotta make Gummy Hunter, right? That's kind of... This is kind of like what we do now. Anytime we do like an official Gummy hunt. Last time we made Gummy Hunter. Is there no hunter here? Yeah, it's Gummy Hunter. Hunter of gummies. Why is a hunter not an option? I think Wesker is. Not that I want to name him Wesker, but I just want to Yep. Wellington. Wild Rose. Is Gummy an option? Ram. We've got Guy, Gustav, Guri, Gurin, Guillaume, Guile, or Greg. Greg Gummy Hunter. I was gonna go with Guillaume because it was kind of like Gummy. Guri is kind of like Gummy, right? Greg. Greg Gummy Hunter. I want funny dog hat! I know these are just base bodies, which you should be presenting them to me naked, which they are on the left, I realize, but like, I want funny dog hat. Oh. Guillaume is too cool a name for Greg, I guess. Okay, so here's the thing. I kind of want to make a really tall lad. Well, I'm trying to avoid making a super short, stocky boy. Specifically because I made a super short, stocky boy in Dragon's Dogma 2. I think most of you have seen Gordman at this point. But tall boy with tiny limbs. Just a slab of man. I mean, we can definitely do that. I like a tall boy who's just like a brick shit house, but with like tiny twig arms and legs. Is that what we're thinking? Because I don't want to I want to be careful about going twig arms and legs, because we will be making Waluigi as our pawn. Or at least attempting to. Our Gummy Hunt has become a twofold endeavor. In that I have never made a Waluigi in Dragon's Dogma 1. You were thinking very short arms and legs and long torso. Okay. No, that helps. That helps clarify, because it's like I don't want Gummy Hunter to be too similar to Waluigi. And I think we can all understand that. Kingpin Gummy Hunter. Yes. Okay. I mean, I found the voice. Make more detailed edits, please. Okay. Don't do hairstyle yet. You know what? I don't want to start with the head. Make more detailed. Okay. Edit body. Eddie? He's as tall as he can be. I want him to just be like a straight line. Just from shoulder to hip, just straight. That's pretty good. How ridiculous can I get with the skin color? That's blue. That is a blue man. That man is red. Me with the testosterone. I kind of want to make a blue man. I think our first Gummy Hunter. That is a green man. I am making a green man. We are making the Jolly Green Giant. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. Also, I made Gordman pretty... yeah, I made Gordman, like, very soft and round. I want this man to just be... just... oh no. I don't want to change any of that. I don't want to change any of that. I kind of like his torso as is. Arms. Oh, whoa! Oh, whoa! Yeah, I wouldn't say no to those thighs. I mean, what? I want this man to be a square. Are those smaller? Are 3 smaller than 9? No, by no means is 3 smaller than 9. Okay. Legs. I don't want to say goodbye to these thighs, but also I want him as upright as I can possibly get. I kind of like ladylike on him. He just really puts his chest out there when he's ladylike. Can I view his poses? Oh, that walk, though. That walk, though. Ah, I hate that! That's it. He do be sauntering. Okay. We gotta work on this face a little bit. We gotta keep going with the square theme here. God, there's a... Oh. Wait, I think that might be the face that they used for Randy Johnson, though. That's a good face. Where did his chin go? What are these eyes? Who needs a chin? Chins are overrated. Do we want him squinty? I don't know that I like squinty. Do we have large? I do feel like the Waluigi that we're gonna make here is not gonna be the greatest. You know, none of these eyes are particularly funny. I do like this sort of like... He doesn't look quite sad. But he's definitely not happy. 29 were kind of large? Oh, you're right, they were! We could see his beautiful blues. Or whatever color we end up choosing them to be. You go back and forth between the various squint options. It is a little frightening. I wish we could set it to toggle between the two, so he's just constantly... Because that would be great. I think that would be great. But do we like wide open? I mean, he is on the hunt for gummies, right? He needs to have, like... He needs those orbs activated. And those are pretty activated. Gotta have those peepers peeled. It's true. His orbs. He's looking out for gummies, and then what's this? You're here. Okay. Eyeballs? Eyebrows. I don't... Do we want him to have... Oh... a gentle look? Or do we want him stern? How serious is this boy? We know he's very serious about hunting the gummies. But how serious or worried is he just generally? Or do you think, like, gummies just kind of, like, permeate his entire existence? I am a sucker for some good, like, worried eyebrows. Oh, those are kind of good, though. I'm gonna select 12. He might be like a cleric on a holy mission. This is his moral duty. Yeah, but, like... Is he happy about this? Is he like just fully focused? Nothing else is getting through him? Or is he a gentle soul? I like the gentle. The gentle giant. This might be a hot take, but I don't find noses to be particularly funny, generally. These are all just noses. That one is a little silly just because it's so exaggerated compared to the rest of his face, but... Tiny nose is kind of good. Oh, little upturned thing? Yeah, I like the short ones. Okay, so we've got 6. 6 is an upturned short thing. We got a 14. Yeah, unless you can use a nose to cause, like, some weird seam in the face. They're not particularly funny. I know that there are, like, some people out there who see a nose and go, haha, that nose is real funny looking, and it's like, it's just a nose. Honestly, all noses are a little weird. They're all just weird. They're just weird things on your face, but they're not, like, haha funny. Okay, these are all too big. We're agreed. These are all too big. Well, that one's got some length to it, but it's not prominent. No, it's a little prominent. Okay. That one's a little long, but also still just very close to the rest of his face. I'm kind of torn between, what was it, 14 and 6? Little upturned thing, or just very round? My nose has a glasses shelf, so it's useful. Fair. Yeah, like, I appreciate my nose, because it does just kind of keep my glasses in place. And I know for some people, they can just, like, really get them snug in there if they've got, like, a really predominant bridge. But noses are noses. You like 14 because it helps with the gentle countenance? I can agree with that. Alright, let's go 14. This is less making, so we are kind of making a monster. Gummy Hunter in general, generally considered monster, only in that we're just doing whatever wild options we can find. But that's monster affectionate. Just like making wild lads. That's all. Oh. Yeah, as opposed to Waluigi, who is a monster, the monster run away. I kind of like these little pouty lips. Hold on, I'm gonna select 26 just because I want to remember that one. But like, oh. We're not getting. It is pushing out that top lip quite a bit in all of these, and I'm not entirely sure why. But I think I like the. I think I like the little pouty lips. Oh. He's got this gentle countenance, but like a sense of fun regarding the hunts he goes on. Tiny Mouth Greg. I mean, like, look at this. There's like a slight smirk in there. You know, this is a playful boy. Ears also not particularly funny to me. I mean, those are a little silly, but that's again just because they're so exaggerated. Those are some fantasy ears. But I don't want this boy. He isn't an orc, so I don't want him like with funny fantasy ears. Oh, actually, hold on. Wait, no, maybe I do actually. Because they kind of just stick out there. Why is his head so... No, it's that way because I made it that way. I made him very square, and so it's just going to be very square up there. I understand. Okay, I am going to look at torsos, actually, because I might be able to find one that's just very long. Does not look like it, actually. Okay. Fantaseers. I like this barrel-chested option. And the rest of these kind of fuck with the arms. Although that makes him very, like, that makes his torso incredibly long. And he is still very, like, brick-shaped. You know? Do we want 3 or 12? 12 just makes him unit. But 3 just makes him, like, long. Right? 3 is good. But good enough to, like, change. Good enough to change? Because it doesn't make his arms look quite as tiny anymore. Like, they're still very small. but they don't look quite as small. Yeah. Those are some tiny arms, and I think it's just because his shoulders are so fucking large. 12 reminds you of David Hasselhoff in the SpongeBob movie. Oh no, I can't unsee it. We have to go with the Hasselhoff. As much as I love 3, we have to go with the Hasselhoff. I'm just waiting for those pecs to, like, separate so that they can squeeze SpongeBob and Patrick at, like, and shoot them like a bullet. Okay, well, since we're going with 12, I won't change the arms. Greg Hasselhoff, Gummy Hunter. That's what you were envisioning? Of course it is! That's all anyone thinks of when we think of David Hasselhoff in the SpongeBob movie. Duh. Okay, hair. We can put hair on this boy now. Now that we've got our base here. I want... Again, we're going gentle. We got some strangeness happening in the neck. So you love to see that. We likely won't see much of that in-game, just because he might have a hat on. So I don't necessarily want, like, a bun. I have... Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I have a bun on Gordman, which I've been struggling with a lot lately. I kinda like... Oh, I kinda like... I like twin tail braids. That covers up too much of the neck for my tastes. Okay, hold on. We have to go all the way back. And we'll start from the beginning. I think I like the twin tail braids, though. That's kind of powerful. Some of these are just very dorky. I do like it when he has bangs, though. That is a lot of hair. What is happening in there? Who knows? Whoa, that ponytail, though! That's also very good, though. No, I gotta go with the braids. I just keep thinking about the braids. Where are they? There they are. Look at him! Okay, scars. How many scars do you think you get from hunting gummies? Like, a lot? He is so pure. I love him. Do you think you get pretty scarred up? I mean, you'd have to, right? Especially in this universe where you gotta, like, where you have to, like, pause at the most inconvenient times to get those gummies. He has to look way up in there on all of the beasts. It's true. So, like, it's gotta have all of the scars, right? And I don't find the ones that are on his face to, like, really detract from his overall look. So I'm like, I'm here for these. All right. Wrinkles? I don't think he's particularly aged. He's young and youthful and fully hydrated. Facial hair. Facial hair is inherently funny. Even when it's good facial hair, it is just very silly in my opinion. Oh, wow. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. 7. I mean, like, I do kind of like 8, but I think that's just because we've been seeing him a lot with that. I like 7. 12 is too much. 11 is very silly. And it's got the same as 7, but with the added little tiny funny mustache. It might be 11. I don't like that mustache. I like this mustache better. And I liked those sideburns. So like, yeah, the little mustache over his mouth is just so good. That's a pretty wild beard. What is this? Is that just stubble? What is that? Well, I found our Waluigi mustache. Oh, it is stubble. It's just very hard to see. Oh. No, that's too much. You miss his little smirk, his little pout. Okay, yeah, no, we're going back to 11. Makeup. Does he wear a full face? I don't necessarily want, like, weird macho face paint. Although, that's kinda, it's subtle. I want him to look his best for all the gummies he's trying to get, right? Kind of like this, like, sultry, dark makeup look that we've got going on. Eleven's a little too smoky-eyed. 9? I think we're going with 9. Yeah. Alright, color adjustments. Hair! Oh, we have some fun options here. This, like, dusty pink is really cute. Hold on, sorry. Back of my head itches. I caved, and I gave myself an undercut again, because there was too much hair. There was too much hair. And it's been very lovely. It's very soft, but it's been very itchy, because it's like, I'm exposed. What have you done? Yeah! It's very, very much like a succulent. I like this dusty pink. I do want to just, like, take a peek at the other colors. Just to see what there is. But, like, I think that's our winner. That's a fun color, too, though. Not for him specifically, but it's fun in general. Wait, can I... Weird. Okay. Yeah, we're going with the dust. The dusty pink. Red and green, like a true cool punk. Exactly. We liked the green skin. Yeah. Makeup color. Oh, it's mostly like changes the blush and the lip tone. That's fine. What color do we want his eyes to be? Piercing green. Limpid pools of blue. Oh god, those are a little scary. I mean, he has to have, like, darker colored eyes, right? So it's easier for him to see. They have to be beautiful. The trouble is... Oh, wow. That's pretty piercing. I worry about giving him light-colored eyes, because then his eyes are going to be more sensitive, you know? And he's gonna need some sunglasses if he's out there looking for gummies. Well, he doesn't have to be super far away to see the actual gummies. He has to be far away to see where the owner of the gummies may be located, you know? We have like a lovely dark green. Normally has his headed side creature, so he has natural sun protection. Okay, so it's the pawn's... it's the pawn's job to locate the actual targets, and then he gets in here and finds them. I like the idea of his hair and his eyes matching, and those are just a very lovely color. Is that how eyeballs work? What do you like? Like the lighter the color, the more sensitive the eyeballs? Yeah. It's purely here for gummies. Yeah, it is. It's not like a set fast sort of thing, but people who have lighter colored eyes, so like lighter green and blues and stuff like that, do tend to be a little more sensitive. They can develop more eye problems if they don't take like good precaution and like use sunglasses and shit like that. My dad has very light blue eyes. And even like when I was like a little kid, before like some of the stuff that he has been through since then that has like affected his aphasia, just general sensitivity, he's always been incredibly sensitive to the sun, and I've known a bunch of other people with very low or very light colored eyes who've had a lot of issues with the sun and stuff. Helps us get that vitamin D. It's true, but it makes you so sensitive. All right, I think this is Gummy Hunter. How are we feeling about him? He's not the like most ridiculous creation that we've made on stream, but I really like him. He has a beautiful soul. I'd hang out in a coffee shop for a few hours with this lad and just listen to whatever stories he has. It's Greg Hasselhoff. I forgot we do have the very the very high-pitched voice, and I think I'm here for it. Since we are here and we've made our boy, I do need to go use the restroom, and I might grab a soda as well, just as a little treat. As well as grab an actual snack, because I need to continue to put food in my body at all times. I was the only 157 pounds. It's because it's all located in the torso. double grip it and rip it. All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna go use the restroom. I'm gonna grab a little snacky snack and grab a soda. Would highly recommend y'all take a quick break as well. Do any of those things that you need to do, and or just do a little tiny stretch. I do have a little pimple on the back of my head that I need to go treat because that hurts. You don't need to know that, but I've told you anyway. Be right back. I don't want to be here. Tweet to noit. I don't want to be here. Let's go. Manus. Hey, bud. Oh, shit. Jump, 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 jump.
You got this. Just be careful of the fan.
Yeah.
That horse is just bowing to the fan.
I mean, it is got fucked. Oh, no.
It is got fuck. The most Kayshurrr quote I've ever heard.
He's gonna burst into worms. He's going to burst into worm? Goodbye, worm? Jesus fucking piss off! No! Oh no! Well, that's not great! Abrupt music end. Wait, so this is the closet, right? But like, he was supposed to be hiding it? I love you, baby! I forgot I could put the cat on my head! I forgot I could put the cat on my head! And like trying to move quietly, you'll still hear the like boom, boom, boom of them wandering. I think it's cute. Maybe that's just me. Also, aww, aww. Look at him. He's doing yoga. Stretching out. Then potentially. Shotgun. 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 No, I. Ah! Ah! He was so. I'm telling you, got some telltale heart shit. Cool. You're not cool. It was purple and I hated it. Option. It's a solid choice. Oh god, who are you? You're another dog. I'm back. Is everyone else back? Specifically, is Fruity back? I need to know for reasons. Also, thank you for the stretch redemption stars. I actually, like, almost forgot to do a stretch when I stood up. And then just, like, stood here and, like, rolled my shoulders and stretched back and forth. Good, you're here. Okay, are you ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Rip it and rip it. That one was a little farted, but, you know, that's okay. Also, I was gonna grab more cherries as a snack, but then I remembered I had a bunch of cucumbers cut up, and I decided that those were gonna be my snack, actually. Because they're delicious. Yes, I am ready to play. Yours is gonna cover the farty one? Perfect. Perfect. We love to see it. Yeah, I like all my tiny little cucumbers. Oh my god. Have I had the chili oil on anything yet? Yes. So yeah, I made chili oil earlier and it was delicious. And super easy to do. I've made it before, but it's just like I hadn't been able to get to like our local Asian market in forever. So I didn't have any of the spices or anything that I needed, but I have all of the things, and I put some of the chili oil on the sesame peanut noodles that I made yesterday. Mwah! Mwah! So good! And at some point I plan on making, because I still have a shit ton of cucumbers and bell peppers, actually. I want to make a cucumber salad with like, I don't remember all the ingredients in it. I have the recipe written down, but it's got like a little bit of sesame oil and some gochujang, and like you can put some of the chili oil on it, and like I'm very excited to make that at some point. And I also plan on making tomorrow. I plan on making some tofu and black sauce, which is like hoisin sauce and black vinegar and a little bit of some sesame oil, a couple of other things as well. Frying that up, and then steaming some bok choy, and just putting a little bit of chili oil on that as well, on the bok choy specifically, and I'm like, so excited. I am so excited to eat all this yummy food that I can eat again, because I have the things for it. It's like, this is all stuff that like I used to eat like all the time. But that's because I had access to the market all of the time, and I didn't have access to that for a while. But it's fine. I'm very excited. Yeah, so I have lots of plans for lots of different things. I also have this recipe for wonton soup, but it's like deconstructed. So you have like the wonton filling that you just like cook in the broth, and then you cook the wontons in the broth as well. Sorry, this boy. And it just like saves on like a lot of time and effort because you don't have to make the wontons. Also, let me go away because this is a cutscene.
Hear ye! The prophets have spoken, friends. The dragon's return is nigh. Join the honourable Duke's ranks and help us be rid of the fell beast. The day's come to lay down rod and reel and take up the sword.
It's the dragon! Get to the boat! Quickly! Go! Pick a bird!
Oh, Lord. Forgot about the voice. We were just talking about it and I already forgot about it. Also, that is a Greg right there. I don't think I'm doing any damage to him. It's not even a good snack. It's so small. Did at least 1.5 points of damage, enough to annoy him. Not even as annoying as a splinter, though.
Help me! He's still alive!
If you want to face me, take up arms, newly within.
Also, not to put you on blast or anything, Stars, but may have gotten an email from some company, from some wish list platform, saying that it was your birthday. You don't have to answer if you don't wanna, but also I am invested. Also, Tom, hello, it's Gummy Hunter. He's here. The boy is here. In 5 days. Okay. Okay. That's fair. Because I was like, if it's today, I want to make sure that I'm saying happy birth
Arisen,
on the proper day, but I will
for my
make a
kind
mental
will
note.
not heed the toothless.
Yeah, so this is Gummy Hunter. He does have a very important mission, and it is to hunt gummies. You have yet to age. Understood. Okay, so oh yeah, I forgot that Thief was mixed in with Archer. For the first one. That's probably what we'll do. Fighter is fine. Look at that belly armor though. The mages are important. But I don't like playing as a mage, as, like, involved as they can be. I'm gonna go with Strider. I have chosen. Okay. Strider shows off what he's got going the most. It's true. No, it's one of those things where it's like, it's nice to be able to, like, do ranged attacks and also,
It left a glowing scar?
whatever I was trying to say.
The wound has closed, and it seems the worst has passed, but his heart lies silent.
If you would face me,
You are sure of this?
Yes.
Ill magic, the work of some curse. The whole world's already gone mad for fear of this dragon. Won't no good come of this. I must go see to the others, Kina. Tell me if aught changes here.
All right.
Be a little less obvious that you're eavesdropping, Greg. Listen, he's a big man, okay? Yeah, I do like that you can shoot your bow and also, like, climb up the foes at the same time. I do think I have heard tell that there is a, like, I don't know what it's called specifically, but there is, like, a jack of all trades vocation in the second one, so you may be able to do a shoot and do a climb, which is very exciting if you ask me. But also, let me do some things real fast since there are multiple people here now. And I'm trying to be better at remembering to do all these things. And also, I'm doing the shoutouts for my phone because it's easier than swapping between tabs constantly. There we go. I've done it. I mean, I think most of us follow each other here, but if not, well, there we go. Yeah, of course. Of course. Oh, I thought it took me back to the main game. Okay. We're back to... Oh, getting in closer was a great idea. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. That sure is a thing. I need to remember how to spell Kina's name. I remember just calling her Quinoa all the time. Powerful gummies. We're back into the gummy section of the game. So, you know, yeah, of course. Listen, my friends deserve shout-outs. I stopped doing it for a while because, like, I think everyone that, like, would come into my chat was everyone who followed everyone, but I'm trying to get back into the habit of it because it's important. Hey, ma'am, how do I spell your name? Also, you are like a child to me.
You should be abed. I wish you
Kina.
wouldn't strain yourself so.
Okay, ma'am. Q-U-I-N-A. Q-U-I-N-A. Kina. And also, of course, Tom. Of course. That is number 6. Okay. Yes, and I want my friends to know about each other streaming. Q-U-I-N-A. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I keep, like, thinking I've spelt it wrong. And again, I think that's just because I have it in my head that her name is Quinoa, and her name is not Quinoa. It's Kina.
I'm worried for you, cuz.
But I will probably continue to call her Quinoa. I have picked up the woman. How do I throw her? Why? We're monsters here. Let's take all that, I guess. Don't know why. We're throwing quinoa because I guess it's good luck. Also, why not? Why not throw quinoa? Don't throw quinoa. It's a pain in the ass to clean up. As delicious and multifunctional as it is, it's just so tiny. You're gonna make such a dang mess. We're at Kayshurrr. No, that's race. That's race and weddings, right? I don't know. I'm Aerospec too. Right? Sorry. I've been making a lot of, like, Arrow jokes with folks recently, and it's been very funny, like, specifically with my dad, just because he, like, keeps asking me, like, all these questions, and I'm like, bruh. I love my dad. Oh, who's this child?
Them beasts will burn the whole world up, way I see it.
Them beasts will burn up the whole world. Romance is throwing rice, I'm sure. Yeah, no, that tracks to me. That sounds about right. Can I get Lewis's gummies? Again, I know I said I wasn't necessarily gonna get, like, every single NPC's gums, but also if they're, like, here and easy to get. Hey, Devo? My beautiful boy? Oh god, that's horrific. Ugh, that's not much better. But here we go. Romance is throwing rice and what other weird things do do people who experience romance do? I like literally can't think of anything funny at the moment. I'm sorry. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you if you experience romance. We still appreciate you. You're not supposed to throw rice at weddings. It has no nutrients. You can throw the wedding party seeds though, and they'll pick those right up. I mean, yeah, that's true. You don't want to do rice because that will hurt the tummies of whatever birds end up eating it. Please don't throw rice. Also, stop feeding bread to ducks. It's also horrible for them. Listen. I think the best thing for romantics is cut up grapes. Wait, what? Huh? Why are they cutting grapes up? Why are we not just eating grapes? Like, I was gonna say like a normal person, but that also does not describe me. So, but I just eat grapes? Oh, you can feed ducks cut up grapes instead of bread. Okay, sorry. I thought we were still on about throwing stuff at the romance people, not at the ducks. I was like, but why are we? What's going on? Can't abide a cut up grape. Where's the satisfying pop? I mean, that's what I'm saying. I can understand cut up grapes for like children, but also maybe just don't give grapes to children until they like won't choke on them. So you won't ever need to cut up your grapes. I'm gonna steal this fish. This fish is mine now. Why did you turn your back on it? I am soaked. Why did we have to dunk our whole dang body in there? Oh, you are? You think we should throw grapes at weddings as well? That's fair. I guess, no. Okay, you know what? No. No. I'm here for this. We make sure that they're cut up so that they're easy for the birds. But just lob those things at the couple. I'm sorry. You know what? No, I'm not sorry, actually. I love this. Yeah, just to fucking get him right in the dome with a couple of grapes. Hell yeah. I'd love to just toss a couple of grapes at some romantic ducks. Ducks are great. Heil. You can only get their gums if you go into photo mode. Again, we're not gonna get every single NPCs, merchants, and like innkeeps, because those are like merchants. I know I can rest and restore stamina at inns. Everyone is so small by comparison. Oh my god, I know. I know we're like very big, but also oh my god. Oh, okay. What is happening here? You'll really relay all these suggestions to your fiance. Perfect. Definitely get your wedding planning advice from Kayshurrr and Stars. We're the ultimate wedding planning team, honestly. We're just gonna be at the wedding throwing food at people. Isn't that what they want? That's what I'd want. Just chuck some food at me. I can't get into this man's head. It's probably not a statement you really, like, want to hear. He's too far away. Why is this man being difficult? From here, maybe? I'm gonna get him from the front, then, though. He has disappeared. The man has vanished. I didn't mean to take that. Oopsies. Yeah, statements failed by failed psychologist. Can't get into this man's head. I can't believe it. Oh my god, why is this so... Hey, do you want to, like, look at me? Hey. Oh! Oh, the teeth! Oh! Oh! Is the man tiny or is Greg enormous? Yes. Oh god, sorry. That was legitimately horrifying. I don't ever want to look at the front of a man's face again like that. Could he please turn this way? Can I get him now? No, I'm too far back. Fuck. Okay, let's try this. Are we close enough now? Yes! Yes, we are! Fuck. Oh god. Oh lord. Oh, we have made some choices. Okay, nope. Pop back into the game. That is not what I wanted to do. I'm sorry. There's a lot happening at the moment, you see? And I'm scared, and it's fine. Actually. Yeah, we'd be looking in there. Okay, here we go. I have found the screen that I need. Oh, God. Again, I'm trying to keep the trademark and the logo out of the way because they are very intrusive. But there's only so much I can do. So for the pictures that we're posting, there'll be a little... Sometimes there will be bits and pieces of those in there. I am doing it in a thread because I have realized that the longer we do gummy hunts, and the more that we do, it's probably better to organize them by game. And so I'll do just like a thread of gummies per game. The Elden Rings ones will still just kind of be floating around in there. But this way, if we for some reason end up having multiple gummy hunts going on at the same time, I'm not mixing gummies together. We gotta keep them separated. Just by game and the like. I'm sorry, I'm never making an Offspring reference ever again. I don't feel great after doing that.
I need a favor. Can you fetch the flowers I need from outside the village?
Lady, you want some flowers? Bonita? We'll do quest givers too. We can do their gums.
I need more
Bonita?
of what you see there. And one other sort besides. The more you can find, the better.
So you would perhaps say you are not doing okay? Yeah, one might say that. This is fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's just telling me about quests. Again, I am gonna just like skip some of the tutorials because it's not necessary. We don't need it. I've played this game before. Oh lord. Oh god, there's so much tongue in there. It's not textured like that goat tongue though. So that's nice. You're thinking of trying to make as many Waluigis and hunt as many gummies as you could while I was out of commission from surgery. So you have silly things to look at. Listen. I would adore that. Like, in general, even when I'm not necessarily, like, recovering from surgery. But, I mean, that would also just be an absolute delight for me. while I am recovering. But in general, if other people want to do gummy hunts and or make Waluigis, please do. And like send them to me directly, post them in the Discord. This would delight me to no end. I just love the fact that like I don't know, these stupid things that I do. It's one reason why I like really like streaming as a whole. Is that like I've been able to share these like very silly things that I do in video games, like the gummy hunts and like making Waluigis and stuff like that. I've been able to share that with other people. And y'all have like been able to also derive some weird sense of joy or like at the very least confusion, which is very funny to me about the things that are going on. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like a little, we enjoy it like a little freak family. It's true. Yeah, no, if you, genuinely, if you do this, Fruity, like, I would love that. Little freak family. What does he need? Why have I stolen from him?
Gathering ingredients, eh? You oft see those flowers growing at the roots of bigger trees. Not that I'm fain to brave the roads these days. Just
were
see you're
you
not injured yourself, good fisher.
Were you providing me information about... Okay, I needed him. I know a heavy load. Oh god, we're jumping. Oh lord! Look at him go. That man is so confused. Hold on, I have to screenshot that for myself. Oh! Ah! We're just right on in there! Yeah, I'm doing a Chrysler over this little man. I'm gonna get rid of... But he's so good in there, but he's also confounding the image a little bit. There we go. No, I need those teeth up a bit more. There we go. That's what we want. This is Geraldo?
Gathering ingredients.
This is Geraldo. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I've talked about before, like I want to do more gummy hunts on stream. Like between doing like full games normally. The trouble is it's just finding a game that you can do that in, you know? Because not all games will allow you to. Like, especially, like, newer games. They're a little more finicky about it because they make it so that, like, the characters just sort of, like, vanish. When you, like, get too close to them, which I get it. It's a way to keep them from colliding. Why is... Hold on a second. I might have crashed the game. Dragon's Dogma? Hey. Hey, Dragon's Dogma? Uh-oh. I may have tapped out too many times. I owned the point too hard. It is true. Gummy hunting is a dying profession, and I wish more people were, would take part of it. Okay, I can see the cursor for the game. Like, the specific cursor for the game. So that's a move in the right direction. Can I... Trouble is, I'm also not getting any sort of information about the game crashing. Okay, well, we're gonna close the window. I should probably, like, get rid of some of the windows that I have open. Hey, so the game's not closing. And that's a problem. For me specifically. So we're gonna stop the game. Yeah, I know unsaved data might be lost. But this game is like Dark Souls. It saves pretty regularly. Okay. We've closed the game out successfully. I launch. It's gonna be really loud. I'm so sorry. once it decides to, like, actually load up. It's not as loud as I thought it would be, but it's still loud. There we go. Okay. Launching in offline mode. No, not manual. Options. Online. Can we connect? Save successful. Perfect. Yeah. Load. Not new game. Excuse me. How invested are we in getting through this whole dang game? Because it's kind of a long-in. But, I mean, I know that we're like, we gotta go through. We gotta get those gums. That's gotta happen. We know this. But, like, do we, like, care about getting through? Oh. Why is she wiggling like this? Why can't I pick her up? I'm scared. This woman scares me. She's a bubble. I don't know. Oh no. Oh. What? I didn't know that tits had gummies. I'm sorry, ma'am. I like it when the tongues are involved, but then you can't... Wait, let me rephrase that. Can't necessarily see the teeth? Lifting has no effect on wiggle type. She just wibbles out of there. I can't believe it. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, that worked. Great. There we go. I don't know what this woman's name is. I forgot to check because I got distracted by other things. Ma'am.
It's a mercy so much of the village was
Estella. A.E. Stella. We're already at 11 gums. A little more, because, you know, the Chimeras had multiple, but I counted them as a single entity. Hey, Stella! Yeah, exactly that.
I only wish I had more to offer.
I only wish I had more to offer. Okay. Is there anything that I should sell? I mean, like this foreign knife, maybe? The ceramic jug, probably? We'll keep all of that. I don't really have anything special. I assume that these are all just things that I can sell. I would like to keep my clothes for the time being. Go ahead and sell all that stuff. Great. Thanks, hey, Stella! Oh my goodness. Sorry. Okay. Are there any other shops around here? I gotta check for the gummies. Now, this is Geraldo's place.
You look
Iola? Do I? Well, I can pick her up. So why couldn't I pick up Stella? Hey, Stella. Oh. She was there for a second. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. There we go. Oh, horrible teeth, though. Why are they like this? It did set us back a tiny bit, but like when I had to close the game, but it's fine because we hadn't actually like completed anything. Gummies with bangs is such a look, right though? Make it look nice. Ola. Iola. Ba-da-da-da. Lola. Gummies remained. That's what's important. It is, yeah, no, exactly. So it's like if we end up losing like some in-game progress at any point while doing the gummies, it's fine. We're not too pressed about it. We're here for the gums. And that's all that really matters. Yeah, once they're on the scoreboard, they're not coming off. You can't get rid of it. It's committed. I think there's a church up here if I remember properly. Are you?
She's back. Make her be praised she's back. The alehouse is open once more.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the old man who like runs the village, and it is not. There's a church up here. I remembered. So then there's a quest giver. I should probably find out his name first. Actually, no. I should get his gums and then get his name. Ah! Oh, no. The beard is so much. I'm gonna get rid of Gummy Hunter just so we can get all of this. Lord.
Pray a moment.
Elvar.
This of anyone but you, cousin.
Elvar. Elvar. Oh, wow. You're really at 13 already? Elvar. Did I like... I'm like worried that I've misnumbered something in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5A, 5B, 5C, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. Alright. If you say so. Okay. Sorry. What do you need, sir?
I've news for Merrin. Dark news. I fear I cannot bring myself to face him. Will you go in my stead? His brother is dead. It happened on the shore ways.
Aww.
We were fleeing the worm, and Cortez leapt before the beast's talons to shield us.
What a guy.
Saw him hurtling through the air. Saw him fall back to the ground.
Sorry, I'm doing that thing again where I'm leaning on the edge of my desk. And I'm like breaking my elbows doing so. So let's just add a little padding so I'm not doing that.
Just watch the poor man die.
Well, there was a lot going on.
Merrin for the shame of it. He deserves to know what happened, but please go and tell him.
Okay. I can do that.
What I can help you with?
No. Who's this nerd?
'Tis selfish to beg a favor in such times.
Clement.
But there is aught I would ask your help in.
Did he at least go back and get the camera though? Right? Hey, was it good footage? Did you bring it back? Hey man, it's fight, flight, or freeze. It's okay. It is. I do want to play some content warning at some point on stream because I think it would be very funny.
Privately, my family.
Sure.
Sensitive matter.
I need to like sit back. I need to stop doing what I'm doing to my body at the moment.
Many of the villagers have come to offer prayers. As a novice and a newcomer, I welcome the chance to be of use, but my scriptures are missing.
freaks me out when he like wiggles his mouth to talk, but it's just like slight movements of the lips, but they don't like part or anything. It's like he's like practicing his ventriloquism. And it's just a little trippy is all.
Without the text, I cannot offer up a proper prayer. The scriptures were secure in the chapel last I saw them. I do not wish to believe them stolen. If you
I think
come
somebody
upon
stole
them, pray
them.
see them.
Content warning was so much fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it too. It's so goofy. We like it. Okay. Sorry, trying to get man. Get that camera in that man. Oh. You wanna... Oh my god. Okay. Well, I got him to look at me, so that was nice. It's just very silly. And it doesn't necessarily, like, encourage you to be a dick to your friends. Or at least it doesn't if you've got, like, good friends. But you do just kind of want to go out and be like, yeah, I'll get got by this monster. You know, for the views. Gotta do it for the content. It's just very silly. Okay, come on. Did that not save? Did I get out too soon? Gotta do it on stream to show the world Flowers is David Attenborough. It's true. I know Flowers was streaming it a little bit earlier, like after we stopped playing Lethal Company. And she like joined a lobby with a bunch of randos. And like fully took on the Attenborough persona, and it was the funniest thing ever. Yeah, we gotta make sure that like Flowers is around when we do it, so we can get that Attenborough content. I have Clement. Mont. Is it Clement? Is that your name, sir? Definitely check him out. It was very silly.
I am newly come and eager to
CLE.
become part of this place. I wish
Why did I do Selment? CLEMENTE. 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 Yeah. Make sure I'm typing their names properly. But yeah, I was like considering doing some content warning today. Because it was like, I've been having a lot of fun with it, even like just on my own. It's been really enjoyable, although I love doing it more with friends. But I'd meant to start the Gummy hunt on Wednesday, but like I said earlier, like I was just very tired from all the training that I've been doing. Still very exhausted, but like it's not like I have to work tomorrow, you know? I'm glad I waited until today to do it, because I'm now like I'm more not invested, but more focused and more able to like put in the effort that I want to do for this very silly hunt. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I fucking love these things. It does. It requires a certain level of focus. It's like super easy to just kind of like shoot the shit. Oh god, why are you doing that? While doing gummy hunts, which I appreciate. But you still have to I have to remember how to get gummies, how to post them, all the silliness that's going on. Oh. Especially for this one, just because I have to use the very silly screen share nonsense. I don't know what this boy's name is. That's a problem. It's fine. But yeah, so Content warning will happen sometime in the future because it's very silly and I like it a lot. Excuse me. His name is Child. Hello, this is Child. But I was like very like into.
I confess.
Oh wait, it's Lewis again.
From the chapel.
This fucker trying to make me post him multiple times. I'm gonna delete that one. You only get one, Lewis. Stupid head.
I tried to go back and find the book, but I was in such a panic as I ran. I just wanted to look at it. Just curious is all. Forgive me.
I'm just curious about Bible. What a nerd.
I thought to steal a glance and then return it, but the dragon came and I dropped it as I ran. Core, what am I to say to him now?
See it inside that stupid head. It's empty. It's true. No, come here. Am I not allowed to pick him up because he's a child? Game got me this time. It knew I wanted to throw him. Stupid. Oh my god. Okay. I vaguely remember where the Bible is. I do have, like, memory of this quest. However, there's this lady who is a quest giver, and I need to get inside her head. Oh! Oh! Whoa! What is all this? What's all this, then? This isn't our typical gum thing, but that's a whole thing.
Where do the curing flowers grow?
Lesia. Lesia. She's got layers. Is she an ogre? Girl, are you an ogre? Yeah, this is gonna be one that's got like weird bits of. I could just post the full image, but honestly, it's gonna annoy me if they all have, they all have the logo. She's either an ogre or an onion. They are very similar. Onions also have layers. She's probably one of the two. Tom and Fruity are same hat.
Sure. If not, I recall seeing.
Oh, she's just telling us where. Okay, she's not actually a quest giver. She is just telling me information about my quest. Okay. So I think we go down here for Bible because apparently Child was on roof. Yep, there it is. There it is. It's right there. I found the scriptures. Oh boy. I don't want to. Okay. I have to make an executive decision here soon about what we're doing.
Where did you find it?
On the fucking roof.
I'm glad it's found, but see it back to the father for me, please. Thank you.
Can't pick up this fucking kid, and I'm mad about it. I have to make an executive decision soon so that we can like go make Waluigi.
And eager to become part of this place.
Because I would like to do that, but at the same time,
just as others have come to rely upon,
we might save that for the next stream. I don't know. We'll see.
I cannot think the scriptures far gone.
Excuse me.
Pray, help me look around the area.
What? Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought
scriptures. You found them. Oh,
he was just reiterating his quest. I thought I had already given him the thing, and he was being like, "But they're missing again." And it's like, "But what did you just do with them?"
Truly, the people of Cassidus are a good heart.
Cassidus.
Now I can once more offer proper prayer on behalf of the village. But I have dallied long enough. There is work for me to do.
Gummy Hunter is level 2, and I haven't done shit. Woo! Also, the game just saved. You love to see it. Fuck you, kid. Okay. I need to find flowers for the lady. She wants to heal people. But I think I have to leave the village to do that. Which is fine, I can do that. But... should I? What does this guy want? I want to get him from over here, maybe. Gotta shake up all the angles. You know, man has disappeared again. Okay. Nope, I am too far away. This is fine. This isn't as, like, annoying. Oh god. As it could be. It is a little obnoxious. Oh. It's worth it, though. Alright, what's your name?
Gathering ingredients, eh?
Fucking Geraldo again. Geraldo, I should talk to them before I take their gummies. I should talk to them because we've already gotten Geraldo. And I don't need his gums again. Fucking Geraldo. Okay, alright. We gotta go outside to get these flowers. What's going on here?
That man you are speaking with, he's of the Pawn Legion. They come from some unknown place, just appear without a warning. They're a strange lot. Not human, quite. They look the part, sure enough, but they lack the will, the spark what drives us. They have no capacity to feel nor act alone, so they live as sellswords. Myrmidons, they're called. There's an encampment west of the village where men gather to face the dragon. I'd wager a fair number of his kind will be there as well. Why don't you take him? Might be you learn aught of why he came to you in the first place.
Before leaving, visit the store to
Okay.
make sure you've ample supply.
Okay. Well, a lot just happened in that 10-second period. But honestly, like, if I've got if I've gotten your gums already, tell me. Oh wow, those eyebrows. Hold on. Gummy Hunter is kind of making them hard to see, so we're gonna do it this way. Excuse me. Adaro. We've gotten him. Now we've gotten him. Now we've gotten those majestic eyebrows. Okay. 15. Number 16. Adaro. Perfect. Yeah, no, I just want them to like if you see me coming at you, just do a quick little, nah, you've gotten me already. Also, Rook. Long time no see. I love all the, yeah, like the little like oh wow, the beard too. All the little additions, all the little like bits. They really just sort of like add to the gummies, you know? I am still like trying to think of this gummy is giving Hobbit. Oh no. I'm sorry. I think of Hobbit and I just think of that Russian version of The Hobbit that we watched. This is Rook? Oh, God. I am still looking into trying to do Gummy emotes. It's gonna take me a while, but
Why don't you
it's gonna be a thing. Yeah, those once you've watched them, that's it. Also, these guys are so tiny now as well. I am a fly. I am bothering them. Am I missing? Oh, thank you. Thank you for telling me. I've got so many windows open right now. It is very hard to keep track of everything. So I appreciate you telling me that I'm missing. Main way you can tell is that I'm saying things and there are no captions. But it wasn't that important to see me. You just had to watch Gummy Hunter wiggle around on these creatures. Also, I am too big. I don't fit on this ladder. Gotta get that cat dinner. I gotta consider me dinner soon. So I gotta eat to take my meds.
What?
I have some spaghetti that I plan on eating tonight, and I'm very excited about it. Alright, Rook. Let's go, buddy. Gotta go do the thing and find the encampment.
To the encampment.
Woo!
This path should see us there.
Okay, Rook. Before we do that, though, I know this game has an autosave feature. Hey, did you know? Throw.
The flowers which bloom by day favor the roots of large trees.
Yeah, I know. So we're gonna go near some large trees and look for the things. Look for them dang flowers, you know? Lady wants them. We gotta get them for her. Oh, but also... Scared I was gonna fall. Can I... That's the button. How do I... Rook has nothing. There should be a way... Is there not a crafting thing in this game? Or do I just, like, eat things? As is. Because, like, that would be fine, honestly. If I didn't have to worry about that. But, you know. Fisherman's tatters. Where are... Quest equipment. There we go. I know what's happening. These are significantly worse than what we had. Can I discard those? Perfect. Okay. Sorry, I am just, like, going to try and constantly use the buttons that I use for the new game, which are more or less very similar, except when they're not. Do you have a pelt for me? No. Okay, I've done a murder for no reason. Does the lady need... What does the lady need? What exactly does she need? She needs some moon glow and sunbright. Need to bring her some sunbright first. Understood. Are these sunbrights? Goblins! Gerblins! Ah! Oh god, this is so much wigglier. It's wigglier in different ways than the Dragon's Dogma 2, and I need to remember how to do all this again. It's fine. We've done it. We've only gone and done it. I hear more goblins. But I need them to understand. Rook, I'm looting here. Get your own loot pile.
Many plants grow in the shade of tall trees or in dense woods.
Yes, Rook, I know. Did you know? This is where you can find your flowers. Hello? Oh god. We'll just end him this way. Rook is so chatty. Poison arrows. Okay, well. We'll get these goblins out of the way. There we go.
Strength in numbers, Arisen.
Your strength in numbers. Should probably go back and turn these flowers in so that we can get the moon glow for the lady. We're kind of generally just waiting for it to get dark, I think, because that's the only time you can get the moon glow, but I think you could get it from the same places as the sun bright, if I remember properly. I haven't played this game in years. Like, genuinely, the last time I played it, it was on an Xbox. Like a 360. So it's been a while. This poor guy's getting all beat up. Hi, Reynard. No, I wanted to throw it. Do you have this on 360? It's in the collection. I'm here for it. Did I just throw that rabbit corpse at these guys? I think I did. It's a really goofy game, and it's like super generic fantasy. But it's like, it's just open enough and just generic enough that it doesn't lose me by being all like weighed down by like a whole bunch of like ridiculous fantasy lore. Slash, even if there is some, you can kind of just like ignore it. That's nice.
Too close. I'm called Reynard, a traveling salesman, though those damnable beasts ruined my wares. But thanks to you, it was only wares I lost. I'll consider it a bargain.
Consider it a bargain. Wait, no, 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 no. Where did he go? Reynard, come back. I need to get your gums.
Seems we're most likely to find what we seek near trees.
Gotta get your gums. Gotta get your gums. Okay. The 360 Criterion Collection. You know what? This isn't usually how we do the gummies, but I think that's a very funny gum. Reynard. Oh boy. Oh my gosh. Oh wow, we've been streaming for like 2.5 hours already. Very nearly at least. I didn't realize the time had passed so quickly. Reynard. We can do a little bit more. I'd like to get to the encampment, I think. We'll get to the encampment and then probably call it around there. I do want to come in here and give this lady her flowers, though. Because she needs them.
We'll not find sunlight except by day.
Okay, here are your sunbrights.
Medicine, the mixture.
There's your
Brought
sunbright.
the rest of them, have you? My thanks, cousin. All that remains is to find some moon glow.
I gotta gather the moon glow. Also, there was a man we were supposed to turn a quest into, wasn't there? Or some person?
Where do the curing flowers? Have you had a look by the shore?
I recall seeing.
Okay, that's not... I have to tell somebody that their brother is dead, right? So, like... where he? Do we even know? Does anyone know? I don't think they do. And that's okay. They don't need to know. Brooke, what are you doing? Whee! Do I have to... That's how you run. Weird. Okay. I know I can control the camera with the right stick. I've been doing that. Hey, did you know I've done that? Okay, I do need to go back outside, I think. But it's not quite night. So how am I supposed to get those ding-dang flowers?
Gathering, you often see those flowers just...
Okay, man, you're not telling me anything I don't know. Yellow is things that I have are actual quests. Red is information about quests.
This path should see us there.
I will attempt to remember this. Will I actually? Probably not. Will I make that everyone else's problem? Absolutely. Ooh, chest. Large coin pouch. Ooh. More coin. Okay. Rook, what are we doing, bud? I was told to look by the shore. I am looking by the shore. Probably meet up on the cliffs, though, right? Like, that would make sense. Alright. This is fine. I do forget that I sometimes, like... when I'm planning out a gummy hunt, that is. I do forget that to do a gummy hunt, I do have to play the game, actually. A little bit. So I'm just sitting here being like, where are the gums? It's like, well, to get there, I have to do this first. Kind of. Don't have to do this. It is an easy thing to overlook. You just get so excited and prepared to do all the hunting of gummies, and like that's really dang exciting. And then you get into the actual game and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot there's game in this game. Brooke, fuck off. I'm already looting that spot. And then you remember and you're like, ah, heck. I don't need to loot as much as I am looting. No, that's a lie. I need to loot a lot now so that in the future I don't have to loot nearly as much. I can loot a little here and there. You don't have to worry about it. Ooh, chest. Coin pouch, coin pouch, you got the coins in the pouch. Coin pouch in my coin pouch. Dropping little coins in this coin pouch. Little coins. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. Salvia! Hi! How are you doing? How's it going? Welcome on in. Hey, you got any moon glow over there? Where's the moon glow? I was told that there were some silly flowers around here, and I've not seen any. I'm a little upset about that, honestly. Yeah, good. I'm glad that pawns will collect items and use them of their own volition. I don't want to have to babysit anybody. Heck. Oh, it's, yes, so it is, hi, it's my serial killer shirt, but it's actually for Amigo the Devil, whom we love here. Just me casually sitting around with Dahmer just very prominently displayed. Don't worry about it. We've got Dahmer and Bundy and Gacy and Geen. It's fine. I genuinely forgot that this is the shirt that I wore today. I have to do laundry. Not that that's the excuse as to why I'm wearing this. It is like one of my favorite shirts because it's very comfortable. But everyone should listen to Amigo the Devil. He's great. Very clever writer whom I love. Want some silly folk music? Go listen to Amigo. It is 420. Happy 420. Blaze it! Ugh. It's me dabbing. That's what I do on this day. The 20th of April. Only if you want. I really like his music. But it's good. You're also tapping. Ayo? I cannot participate in the actual celebrations. Right? Ayo? Cannot participate in the celebrations outside of just wishing everyone who does participate a happy this day. Because it doesn't make me feel good. And it's sad, because when I could, I liked it. Anywho. Am I not? Why can't I find the floors? Where are the floors? I've gotten it, Rook. You're not listening, Rook. I've gotten it, Rook. Rook? More like rookie. Okay, I don't actually remember where the flowers that I'm looking for are located. And that's a bit of a problem. Because I need them. Also, the broke is a joke, so the dabbing is in spirit as well. Womp womp. But new place. No, don't give. Move to equipment. This is the dab that I'll do for all y'all. But yeah, I hope it's been a good day for you, and that you've been having a nice time. You can go out Baldur's Gates all day. You might switch to a different game. Ooh, what different game are you thinking? Also, where is my lantern? Use. I usually give this to my main pawn because they'll use it at night. And they don't consume oil, I don't think. Or if they do, I can't tell. I found it! I found the moon glow!
Flower. Shall we take
No idea. You can only handle one fantasy game at a time. So no dogs for dragons. I see. That's fair. That is fair though. Like genuinely. I fucking love Dragon's Dogma though, and would highly recommend. I like the first one. I do really enjoy the first one. But if you're gonna like hop in and play it, I would highly recommend the newest one. At some point. Here you go, ma'am. There's the Moonglow.
That's the one! You found it! Moonglow has grown rare in these parts of late. 'Tis a relief to...
Well, I'm glad I could find it for you.
That's the both of them.
Why is our focus down here?
So quickly. I'll get to work directly.
Okay.
Luck, we'll have everyone back to Elfia.
Look at him.
Cousin. I fear
Getting toasted and buying Crazy Taxi on Steam. Hey. Hold on. Do it. Fucking do it. Would recommend. I don't know if that actually worked. I couldn't see it. Hold on. Let me just like pop on over here real fast so I can like look at that. Okay, it does. It does work. Hey, you should buy Crazy Taxi. Perfect. It worked. Okay, yeah, good. I realized I hadn't actually like looked at that screen since I had like the issues with my... If we get any closer to the camera, you'll only see my teeth and my eyeballs. Good. Yeah, no, I just realized I hadn't like looked at that screen since I had the issues with my camera previously, so
To the encampment.
good to know it works. I mean, that's what we want, right? Real life Kayshurrs? Let's go. Don't look at my gummies. They're probably not that impressive. This is why I hunt gums. For the lack of my own. Hey, Rook, could you, like, help? Give me some, like, fire so I can kill these guys a little faster, because my swords are trash. These daggers suck ass. Oh my gosh. Rift fragment. I got a rift crystal. I see. Alright, let's get to the encampment. Oh, the fucking wolves, man. Rook, come to me. I don't want to fight the wolves because there are too many in this game. They won't stop coming and they don't stop coming. Don't stop coming and they don't stop coming. They don't stop coming and they don't stop coming. They don't stop coming and they don't stop coming. They don't stop coming and they don't stop coming.
We are near a riftstone. If
Kayshurrr, give me some piercing. I'm sorry, I'm just imagining like piercings on the back of my eyeballs. And I hate that. Oh wait, is this us having to... Do we get to make our boy now? Do I have the energy to make a Waluigi? We're not gonna be able to make a good Waluigi is the thing. Okay, hold on. What are our quests at the moment? Cortez is dead, and Elvar lacks the metal to tell Mirren. Right, that's the man I need to talk to. Let's go talk to Man. It does have to go on the Walu meter. No, this is correct. I know that we're not gonna make be able to make a super accurate one, so it shouldn't take too long to make him, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I know about this. I need to go to the unusual beach to find the man? Okay. So I should be able to make it before I totally just, like, flag on stream and go, like, I need to be fucking done. But I also don't want that to influence, our making Waluigi. So I do want to, like, put the time in. make the effort, you know? But I don't know. Just a little concerned is all. I think we should I should have the energy to do it though. Ow, why did we miss? Why did we miss? Oh my god. Ouch! Yeah, I know. I know the amount of health that I can recover after taking damage gets smaller and smaller. Goblins ill like fire. Slay my enemies. Easy peasy. Okay. Should have probably waited to do this. Sorry. Little voice. I probably should have waited to do this until we made Waluigi, but I thought Ortiz was here. Or Marin. Ortiz is dead. Goblin's ill? Fire is also ill? They're alike like that. It's important to know. The Goblin's ill! Like fire! Why the fuck is Rook dead? What? Oh no! Oh no! Can we retry, please? Well, if Rook hadn't taken 10 million years to heal me...
Well sturdy, this place.
Okay, fuck it. We're gonna go make Waluigi.
To the best of my knowledge, we are near a riftstone, if memory serves. I know the way, Master.
Rook, I know where it is. I'm not gonna follow you because I'm already here.
Well met, Arisen. Can you hear our voice? We speak to you from across great distance. The Pawn Legion has awaited you. Pray.
Big ol' yawns.
Personal greeting. This rift serves as a gate. It connects our kind
Okay.
to your world. It opens
Sure.
if you
I need him to stop talking. Why am I searching the area?
A riftstone.
I thought I was making a boy. What am I searching for?
Seems the soldiers make their
Pray tell. Hello?
structure than I'd imagined.
Don't be rude about it, Rook. Okay. I'm searching the area.
The beast comes. Hurry!
Oh. Sir Publius. Oh, right. There's a Cyclops.
There may be prowling. Do something!
I would love to. I have to go out there? Oh, you're forcing me to go out that door. I see.
All ready for battle?
It's a Cyclops. It's gonna be nighttime though, so it's gonna be pretty dark, and I'm not looking forward to that. It's fine. Boy's looking pretty rough though. Alright, let me at him. Let me at him. Let me at him. Shoot him in the eye. Shoot him in the eye. In the eyeball. Come on. You're giving me a tutorial and I cannot read it because I'm trying to shoot this guy in the butt. Well, I was trying to shoot him in the eye, but he's wiggling around quite a lot. Making that very difficult for me to do. There we go. Just shoot him in the eye a bunch. My god, there's so many arrows there. That poor eye. Who's this man? Sadler?
Let us return to the encampment.
Rugged bone. Yeah, I know to step into the light. I understand. Okay, let's go back in here. I just wanted to make my boy. Can I not make my boy here?
Shall we search the area?
With that, your trial is complete. You are the now.
Okay. I'm gonna skip some of that. It's just them being like, wow, you really are who you say you are. It's like, yeah, I am. Waluigi. We'll do what we named him in the second one, which is Ace, because that is a funny tennis term. We'll start with the same base, because he's tall. Hold on. Do I have a Waluigi available? Image. Waluigi. I probably do. Somewhere on my computer. Just so we, like, have something to look at. So we know what's going on, you know? Would it be in my Twitch folder? No. No. I have to. Did I delete all my Waluigis? That doesn't sound like me. But it could have happened. I might have also just put them in really dumb places. That's entirely possible as well. Maybe it's in one of my Twitch folders actually. Yep, there they are. I have found him. There's the boy. I'm gonna put him here so that we have our base. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're trying to mimic. Which one of these is closest to wah? 4? Wah! That's too deep. That's also too deep. Wah! 4 is fairly wah? That's what I thought too. Okay. More detailed edits, please. Face shape. I need the one with the most pronounced chin, please. Oh my goodness, sorry. Square, yet pointed. 17 might be it. And that's a little annoying. Actually, 24. I think it's 24. Square, but big chin. We need slightly turned eyes, but like, again, big. I don't want 15 to be it, but it might be it. Just gonna go through the other ones just to make sure. Yeah, I'm not happy with any of these. We need big brows. Big stern eyebrows. Like that, but bigger. Those are too surprised. Some of these are just very incorrect. That's getting closer. I need them like 6, but like big. I guess 8 is kind of what we're shooting for. I'm gonna be so disappointed with this is the main thing. I don't even know that I'm gonna be able to make his nose like the proper color. And that's really upsetting to me. $33. I already know it's gonna be 33. It's 33. Mouth. He's got big lips, but they're the same color as his skin. Right? We gotta get more texture options going. And it's like, they're not giving that to me. And I'm actually like a bit annoyed about it. Ears. We do have the funny pointy ears. I'll go back and like wiggle some of that around a little bit, but right now musculature, go skinny. Torso. I'm gonna select 11 because I like it already, but we will take a peek at the other ones. I mean, do be having a bit of a snatched waist. Yeah, we'll select that, and then look at the other ones. His shoulders aren't necessarily not broad. He doesn't have like particularly broad shoulders. Yeah, we got it with this one. Horrible thin arms. Do we have like thin arms but big hands? I mean, his arms and his legs need to be about the same. Ooh, 3 is good though. 7? 7. 3 is thinner, but 7 is longer. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. 4. I think it's gonna be 4. So the rest of them just get meaty. My god. It's either 4 or 7, and I think I like 4 better. They're thinner. But 7 is longer. Like, just. It's 4. Okay, stance. Oh god, what is his neck doing? I mean, in the picture that we have, it's very ladylike according to this scale. But he's a proud boy. Not a you know what I mean. This boy has a lot of pride in the things that he does. He knows he's good at... He knows he's good at tennis. I don't need any scars on him. He's proud, comma, boy. Not the other. Yeah, not the other. Not at all the other. Wrinkles? None. Boy is smooth. And I know I saw the funny mustache earlier. There it is. You know, it's not good. I think that's what we want, because we don't really want any other makeup. The other makeup, like... If I could control the individual bits, like the colors for the individual parts of the makeup, that would be great. But I can't. And I think... Hold on. You know, I didn't think we were going to be able to get any blue, like, eyeliner on him. It has proven me wrong. Like, immediately. And I'm kind of okay with that. I'm fine with it proving me wrong. It's not as pronounced as I would like for it to be. But what can you do? Why is white not an option?
Steel yourself for combat. Steel yourself for combat.
Why is he so surprised? That's as close as we can get that. Okay. I wish I had sliders. I wish I had sliders to fix this boy. But I don't. And I'm annoyed about that. Just want some sliders on this guy. Okay. I need the hair, like, slightly slicked back, but I need... Oh, no. Oh, God. Is that the closest? Is 10 the closest? I think 10 is the closest, and I hate that for me. Oh, God. It's either gonna be 10 or 8. Which do I like better? I like 8 better. 10 is closer, but 8 just is better. And none of these go over his nose, and just his nose. And it's incredibly upsetting, honestly, that this is the closest to a Waluigi we can get. I don't think there are any other options. I don't think there's anything else that I can do. They're gonna make that Adam's apple as, like, pronounced as possible. Long face isn't it. And I don't need his face thicker. I just need his neck thinner. But I think 24 is it. Because we need like just the square head. Also, I'm realizing my webcam has exploded. How long has that been there? Hold on a second. Deactivate. Activate. There we go. I don't know what happened there, but it's fine. It's fine. It's not the worst freeze frame that has ever happened to me. And I was too focused on Waluigi and looking at the Waluigi on stream to notice that it froze. It's fine. Y'all wouldn't have noticed anything had I not said anything. What if Waluigi were a British spy in a 40s romantic thriller? I hate it, thanks. I'm like super not happy with him. But this is it. This is as close as we can get. And that's like genuinely annoying to me. Not gonna lie, he looks like one of my exes. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Didn't realize you had dated Waluigi. Is 30 better? Yeah, this is not... This one's hard, because it's like... Well, like I said, I'm trying not to rush through it, but there's also, like, I just know there's only so much that I can do that is the best option. Because it's got the similar shape. Yeah, 100%. Waluigi would have been a gentleman, for sure. For sure. This is a nice guy. He will talk to you about tennis a lot and how much he loves his tennis partner, Wario. But, you know, he'll open doors for you and probably cook you a dinner here and there. Ask you how your day's been. I do like that, like, his hair and his scalp are just sort of, like, blended into one. That's a little horrifying. Honestly? Fuck, this is probably like a 3, huh? This is a bad Waluigi, and I'm trying to think of like how I can fix it. And there's not really anything that I can do. The body's fine. Like his torso and his legs are fine. Yeah, not being able to do the pink nose is like a super limiting factor. But yeah, I'm happy with the body. It's fine. It's tall, it's lanky. Great. It's just the face. The ears is pretty dang accurate. The hair, it's there. We've got the right color at least. But it's just the fact that they make me have these guys look remotely human. On the scale of monster to human, Dragon's Dogma definitely leans more towards human. There's only so much you can do to fuck this face up, and not being able to change the color of the nose, or do anything to be able to change the color of the nose, and not being able to like adjust the neck / chin area, because I could make this work. It would be more realistic looking Waluigi, but I could make that work. But the fact that like he's just got this horrible, like, not horrible, but he does have like a goiter at this point. Boy's not had enough iodine in his diet, and I'm worried about him. But we do have this, like, I know that's just his Adam's apple, but his neck, like from the back to the front, is as thick as his head, and is thicker than his chest, and that's upsetting in a lot of ways. He does have this very funny, like, décolletage shelf going on, though, which is not what we were shooting for, but it is amusing to me. I am making the geometry of this man be a little funky. Yeah, please eat some iodized salt, please. Please. It is a necessary part of your diet. Is iodide. I need you to do that because your neck is not having a great time with it. Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to hear other people out. If you have suggestions on how we can fix it, but also a rating. But I think I'm leaning towards a 3 out of 10. And that's almost exclusively because we were able to make him really tall and really lanky. We were able to add the blue eyeliner. And there was a vaguely Waluigi-esque mustache in there. Not that each one of those is worth a single point, but those 3 things combined kind of makes me lean towards a 3 out of 10. It's not great. His neck and torso are giving turtle missing its shell. Oh no, you're right. Oh, I hate it. Yeah, I think that's as close as we can get. And I hate that for us. How tall is 213.5 centimeters? I'm curious. He is to turtles, a slug is to a worm. Ah! He's just missing his little house. Oh, as slug is to snail. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not brain. No, neither am I, apparently, but I fully understood. It's approximately 7 feet tall. Okay, I don't know centimeters, like, at all. But that's good, because this boy is, like, 7 feet tall, like, in canon. Yeah, 6 feet, 11.85 inches. He's 7 feet tall. I'll give him that. We can round up for that one. Yeah, I got what you meant instead of what you said, but I also heard slug to worm and was like, yeah, that's correct. It was not correct. But I got what you were trying to say. Yeah, in canon he's like 7'4". He is shorter than Lady D. But taller than other tall things. I have that image on my computer somewhere, and I don't remember where. So we're only like 4 inches off. You know what? The fact that it's like actually giving us the measurement and stuff, I'll let those 4 inches slide. You're getting 7'7" from a Google search? Okay. I mean, I knew he was like mid to sevens. But that is a tall lad. That's an incredibly tall lad. Yeah, I don't know. Are we all cool with a 3 out of 10 was for this boy? How does Waluigi doors? He hunches. He just ducks down. It is disappointing when you can't make a good Waluigi. 6.85 feet or whatever. It was 6 feet 11 inches is what he was, and then there was like 11 point whatever 858 or whatever nonsense. He's just under 7 feet tall. But yeah, we can't expect all the games to go to 7'7". Dragon's Dogma, because it's given us an actual height in there, has like done itself a bit of a disservice, but also bold. It's bold of them to do that. Everyone's in agreement with a 3. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a screenshot of this boy. Assuming that everything is working appropriately. Okay. You're 6 feet tall and you've banged your head in your own house a dozen times. Yeah, but aren't like British homes like super tiny? Not like tiny, but don't they just assume all y'all are short? Okay, I'm gonna post the boy. I'm gonna start a thread for him and just say 3 out of 10. There we go. Houses are very narrow mostly. Yeah. But I've also heard that they are just like a tiny bit short. Not like substantially, but a tiny bit short. Just a little. We will continue on with this as the main pawn form. We have made a Waluigi. Oh fuck, I forgot I have to. Okay. This is interesting. I forgot we could choose this because they don't have this option in the second one, at least not via questions. How do we think Waluigi would react when faced with danger? Which trait would he have? Does he have an iron will? Is he quick thinking? Is there careful preparation involved, or does he have the charisma to lead others? I feel like quick thinking is the option here. But I'm open to suggestions, opinions even. I mean, I'd want all of these in a Waluigi. I feel like Waluigi embodies most of these. It is true. Tennis does require some quick thinking, though. Alright. While in battle, which strategy would Waluigi have? Would he kill all the enemies? Rescue comrades in danger? Strike at the strongest foes? Or call for reinforcements? I mean, he is the reinforcement, right? He got called in to do doubles with Wario, so calling for more reinforcements feels incorrect. Killing all the enemies is a horrifying thought. But I feel like you would strike at the strongest foe? Does that describe Waluigi? Because he wants to impress him, right? Tennis requires killing all the enemies. I mean, that's facts. Known fact about tennis. You've got to kill the other team in order to win. Alright. Also, what are his poses? We haven't looked at those. Nope, we've already selected it. Oh god, that walk though. I hate how he moves. Follower rescues your party and turns the tide of the entire battle. What would you have them say? What would Waluigi say if he got a super clutch move in there and saved the day and made it so that he and Wario won the match? This way, Master, leave them to me. Now, Master, strike the final blow or quickly after them. I mean, we can ignore the Master bit. That's the end game talking. But would he yell at Wario to strike the final blow or leave them to me, or hey, this way, Wario, or quickly after them? Pretend it's Master. This way, Master. Now, Master, strike the final blow. I like the strike the final blow thing. I don't know. I mean, like, Waluigi's a team player, right? Oh, my bones are cracking. Oh my god. He likes it when Wario gets the last stab in. It's his favorite. As a ruler, which gift would you would please you the most? What would I want? What would I want Waluigi to give me as a gift? A magic potion that preserves the youth, my youth, a brave and just hero to succeed me. I mean, that's what I want. That's what I want. I want a brave and just hero to succeed me. And that brave and just hero is Waluigi. Alright, do we want him to be a fighter? I mean, we're a strider, so I don't want him to double up on that. We can change this later, is the thing. And we're gonna make him a fighter. So he can get out there and kill the enemy team. For tennis. Alright. Oh god.
Our fealty is sworn to you, Arisen. From this day, the Legion's men called pawns live and die by your command.
That's exactly what it looked like when Wario called up Waluigi and was like, hey, you want to be my buddy in doubles? And that's what happened. Who are you?
Hello.
Ben! I like your hat! That's a good hat! I was just very impressed with that pawn's hat. Okay. Hey, Waluigi? I know, but I need him to face me? Okay. It's like a crown, but also a party hat. I want a crown to be a party hat. Like, properly. Oh, God. Oh, Lord. Oh, these are bad. These are bad gums. These are horrible, awful gums we have found. Oh my god. Why are Waluigi's gums cursed? Ah. They are scary. Okay. Those are going to be the last gums for today. I think. Red.
We have found 19 gums. That's a lot of gums. I wasn't expecting to get that many gums today. So that's exciting. What spot has occurred? Oh? Oh? Oh, it's the crazy one. The one called Crazy.
Whoa. Okay, we're fine now. We're fine now? We're fine now. I am just gonna leave little Waluigi up there. That man is in the way. We will do his silly little tutorial next time. No, don't continue. Save and return to title screen, please. Yeah, I don't know when we'll do more of this, but we will do more of this. Because like I said, I do want to do some content warning at some point soon. So I don't know if I'm gonna like want to play this or content warning the next time I have the time and energy to stream, likely tomorrow. We'll see what's going on then. and figure it out at that point. But for now, we're gonna end stream, and it doesn't look like I have anyone on at the moment, so we won't be reading out, unfortunately. But despite that, I appreciate y'all being here. This was fun and silly and enjoyable. And I am excited to do more of this because gummy hunts are fun. I don't know. It's very goofy and very silly and I enjoy them and I'm glad that y'all were here and enjoy them as well. Yeah, like I said, I plan on streaming tomorrow, but we shall see. It might just end up being a day of me being very sleepy. I will just announce here that like I will be doing do plan on doing our horror fest movie tomorrow. I think it's going to be the original Evil Dead. If folks want to join that. I know like the times that I've been or when I've been able to stream that has been a little spotty recently, but we should be good for tomorrow and I'm excited to share Evil Dead with everyone. Anywho, we will see y'all next time. Have a good rest of your night. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate you all so dang much. You're wonderful people. Until next time. Bye, friends.